Good morning. A hearty welcome to all the distinguished guests, faculty, paper presenters, participants, and students to the two-day national conference on modern retailing, social and economic perspectives. Let's start the conference proceedings seeking Almighty's blessings. I request Ms. Sai Puja for the prayer.
Ya kundendu tusharahara dhavala Ya shubhra vastranvitha Ya veenam varadandamandita Ya Shveta Padmasana Ya Brahma Chuta Shankara Prabrutibhim Devai Sada Pujita Samam Patu Saraswati Bhagavati Nisesha Jadyapaha. Thank you.
Thank you, Sai Puja, for the devotional prayer. It's a great honor for me to introduce the distinguished guests assembled here for the conference. It is my pleasure to introduce our beloved director, Professor R.K. Mishra. Dr. R.K. Mishra is ONGC Subir Raha Chair Professor on Corporate Governance and Senior Professor and Director of IP Hyderabad, India. A PhD from University of Rajasthan and a visiting fellow at London Business School, studied for International Teachers Program at SDA Bocconi, Milan. Dr. Mishra taught at the University of Bradford and was a visiting professor at the Maison des Sciences de la Homme, Paris, Faculty of Economics, University of Ljubljana and Accountancy Institute, University of Technology Mara, Malaysia. He has conducted research for Finance Commission, Planning Commission, and Indian Council of Social Science Research. He is special invitee OECD Working Group on Privatization and Corporate Governance of SOEs and Asian Network of Corporate Governance. He is also a member of panel of experts on reforms in central public sector enterprises set up by the Planning Commission, Government of India member, ad hoc task force set up by the Cabinet Secretariat to review the results framework documents of the various ministries of Government of India. His areas of interest include urbanization, corporate governance, corporate social responsibility, sustainable development, public enterprise management, corporate and international finance. I request Sai Puja to give a bouquet to our beloved director. It is my privilege to introduce our chief guest of the day, Professor Abraham Koshi. Abraham Koshi is a senior professor of Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, reputed in the domains of marketing, brand management, and strategy. He has the distinction of being the first full-time serving faculty of an institution of higher education in India to be appointed as a non-executive chairman of a listed company when he was appointed as chairman of Federal Bank. He has been an independent member of board of directors of bank for 6 years and subsequently the chairman for 2 years, completing his statutory term in 2015. Professor Koshi is a co-editor, co-author of 4 books, the most popular being the world's selling book, Marketing Management, a South Asian perspective with the legendary marketing guru, Professor Philip Kotler, and others. Besides, he has co-authored and co-edited 3 other books and has published many case studies and research articles in professional journals. He is a member of advisory committees constituted by Securities and Exchange Board of India, Research Bank of India, National Aluminium Company, Kerala Academy for Excellence, and India Handloom Brand. He is also an independent member of Board of Directors of Malayalam Manorama, a reputed media company. He has conducted executive programs in 16 countries and is currently a visiting professor in European School of Management in Paris. In 2015, he had the honor of sharing the dais with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and delivering a talk. I request Nishan to present the bouquet. I would like to introduce our guest of honor, Professor Ajay Pandit. Dr. Ajay Pandit has completed his Bachelor of Engineering in 1972 and MBA in 1974 from Delhi University and also his PhD in 1986 from the same university. He retired as a professor from Faculty of Management Studies, University of Delhi on January 31st, 2015 after 36 years of service. From August 2005 to July 2006, he was on a one-year assignment as professor with the School of Economics and Management, Hainan University, Hoikot, China. He was a professor and dean of School of Management Studies of Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, Delhi, India. Prior to joining Indraprastha University in August 2002, he was a reader, MBA program coordinator, advisor, corporate relations, and placement with Faculty of Management Studies. His areas of specialization include marketing and strategic management. He has also been a visiting faculty in the area of marketing at the Kathmandu and the Pokhara universities. His other professional affiliations include Marketing Unit Chair and Principal Educational Consultant for Deakin University of Australia for their distance education program in India. He was a member of study team appointed by the 5th Central Pay Commission, Government of India in 1995 as a restructuring of postal services. He has worked in industry as a senior executive for 4 years before joining academics in 1978, have published several books and research articles. And now he's an adjunct professor with the Institute of Management Studies, Ghaziabad. I request Harish to give the bouquet. I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Naveen Mathur. Naveen Mathur is Principal, University College of Commerce, University of Rajasthan, Jaipur. He had a brilliant academic career. He was an awardee of National Scholarship by the Government of India. He obtained his MPhil in Business Administration from the University of Rajasthan, standing first in the order of merit. Professor Mathur has taught postgraduate and MPhil students of Business Administration for over 3 decades. He has also supervised several scholars, dissertations, and projects of about 50 postgraduate students. He has contributed research papers for esteemed international and national journals, besides participation in seminars and conferences. He is a member of university academic bodies and other academic and professional associations. He has authored several books, including Advertising Consumer Reaction in India, Press Advertising, published on the recommendation of ICSSR, New Delhi, Management Thought, recommended by Government of Madhya Pradesh, Life and Works of Management Thinkers, Mighty Management Minds of India, Consumerism. His works on management thought have been acclaimed by world's top management experts like Alfred D. Chandler, Arnold Tannebaum, Fred E. Freder, Richard G. Sart, Herbert A. Simon, and Robert Tannebaum. I request Naresh to present the bouquet. I would like to introduce our guest, Professor Vidyadhar. Professor Vidyadhar sir is Director, Center of Management Studies of Nalsar University of Law. He was former head, chairman, and board of studies and dean of Department of Management, Osmania University. He has more than 32 years of experience. He has published 63 research papers, presented 28 papers in international conferences, published 4 books, and supervised 50 research scholars. He is also an expert member of AICTE, UGC, NBA, and NAAC. I request Shrikant to present the bouquet. Now I request our director, Professor R.K. Mishra, to give the welcome address.
Thank you, friends. A great moment in the life of the Institute, where we have the best scholars of the world in this hall. We have been waiting, I think, for years, like Shabri waited for Ram for so many years. We have Professor Abraham Koshe, the leading light in the field of marketing anywhere in the world. Professor Koshe is known worldwide, his work is known worldwide, and he is one who always inspires his students, his colleagues, and those who come across his papers directly or indirectly affected or influenced by his wisdom. One example which is, I think, Federal Bank, where it was and where it has come. Sir, it's a rare opportunity that we had the MD also of the bank here, and then you are here, and then you gave full 2 years of your life, very important life, because when someone like you goes from academics to industry, I think academics suffers. But then we are very happy that, in the banking world, Federal Bank has created its own space, and we are proud of that. Not only that, anywhere where you have been sitting on the boards, you have brought great glory to those organizations, also to the academia, and you have given the benefit of a rare experience and thoughts. You are a thought leader in the country. You may ask me why I was so keen in requesting, why I have been persuading, why each time I meet, I request him to come out here, because I am the beneficiary, and having been a beneficiary, and all of you are my colleagues, I never wanted you to be deprived of that. So I thought that if I could benefit, I think all of us could benefit, and if more number of people benefit, more the merrier, I think, that was what I had in my mind. So you are very lucky, I think. Today we can say that we have met the best in the world, and then you can also be in the quest of becoming the best. Professor Pandit is a very close friend of the institute. Today, if you are sitting in this hall, partly we are sitting because of his benevolence, because of his help, and because of his guidance. You have seen that our degrees are equated to MBA by the Association of Indian Universities, and the person who helped us a lot there, who put in a word also, used his charm and influence, that was Dr. Pandit. He was a member of that committee. And afterwards also, whenever we seek, we have to seek guidance in the area of marketing, in the area of management, in the area of institutional building, how to run institute well, we always approach him. And he has never told no. He is extremely kind to us. Professor Naveen Mathur, there is a special reason in bringing Professor Naveen Mathur is one of those people in academics who have followed the tradition of Professor Chakravarti of IIM Calcutta. Professor Chakravarti wanted to create a parallel of Indian management, Eastern management. That school did start in IIM Calcutta. I have been there to IIM Calcutta. I was talking to Dr. Shekhar Chaudhary. I went around. Unfortunately, that school has become non-functional, I think, because of one or the other reason. But then good things, they just spread. From east, I think, it came to west. And Dr. Naveen Mathur, I think, like a religious person, he took over the baton in his hand. And I understand that there is a school now in the University of Rajasthan, Jaipur, which works on the Eastern philosophy of management. It's a great school. Now they have thousands of books. So many scholars are working there. So many have got their PhDs. They have been publishing papers in Scopus Index journals, in the best journals. They have good citations. And they get scholars, I think, from all over the world to come and speak. That apart, as you have just heard, is a very brilliant colleague who has contributed very richly to the growth of academia, academic profession in the area of management. Professor Vidyadhar Reddy is the former dean and now dean of law school. We have, the National University of Law, we call it NALSAR, and he is a person who is strengthening management over there, and he's bringing law and management together. I think it's only because of people like him, as I've been told, we are disproving, I think, what Shakespeare told, that all the liars should be killed. But when Dr. Reddy has joined, I think, in NALSAR, I don't think liars can take a respite. And I think nobody will kill them, because he would teach them how to be a good lawyer in adverse conditions also. Law is not only for industry, law is not only for rich people, law is also for people who are not privileged, people who are poor, people who are in the minorities, I think. And that kind of law we need in our country. When I say that, let me also welcome Prasada here. Prasada Garu is the Dean of Gitam School of Management, a colleague who has been publishing very prolifically, writing very prolifically, and bringing great laurels and credit to Gitam School. So we thought the best thing to learn from him is to bring here. He may not give us secrets of the success of Gitam there, but at least I think he'll give one or two secrets how Gitam has risen to this preeminent position, I think, in the field of academia, and how IP can also do that. Friends, on that note, let me also welcome the former dean, who is our senior colleague here, Professor Menon, who is sitting there very quietly. He was the dean of Dusmania University for several years, and he is one of the very well-established teacher in the field of strategy, in the field of finance and accounting, and here's our 2-year PGDM program. Now, before I proceed, let me also thank Dr. Srikanth, who is our research coordinator now and who is also director of this seminar. He brought this course of retailing to the institute. I'm also grateful to Dr. Karuna, who is associating herself with Dr. Srikanth. We also have our colleagues from the faculty. I also take this opportunity of welcoming paper presenters over here, our research scholars, our students who are doing PGDM program. To me, I think retailing is very, very important. I was just discussing, I think today if you take away retailing, then nothing remains. Because retailing is the foundation, I think, for all the business. Wholesale business, anything that you see, that is only superstructure. If you take away retailing, then I think the entire building collapses. And the more stronger retailing becomes, I think the more effective you can become. Mr. Trump can do anything in America at that level. But if you are good in retailing, then I don't think Mr. Trump can stop us in reaching America, in reaching Latin America, any part of the world. What was the motivation of doing this seminar? Motivation of doing this seminar was something that we did. That was the first seminar, I think, in India, after Dr. Manmohan Singh, and his cabinet declared the policy, new policy of retailing way back. And then Dr. Rangarajan, Professor Radhakrishna, me, and 2 other colleagues, we had a big seminar in Center for Economic and Social Studies. And based on that, we brought out this book. This is the book from the Springer. It has been reviewed well, and it has very good citations also. That was the motivation. But I was talking to my colleague, Mahesh, that we had this seminar in 2012. Book came out in 2016. Now it is 2017. I told we can have family planning, I think. Yes, there we may have, there is an embargo, you don't have more than 1 or 2 children. But I don't think there is any embargo on, I think, bringing out good books. I can say because all my colleagues, they are now, they have crossed that stage of puberty. We should produce more and more when it comes to research. We should produce more and more when it comes to books. We should produce more and more when it comes to research papers. That's the way I think. We are in academics, we are not in politics. We are not, I think, in actual business. Our job is to, I think, produce and take the essence of research to people who can use it. And therefore, I thought that we have a very strong team of marketing colleagues here. We have about 9 colleagues in the area of marketing. And we thought they can do much more. But I was not able to pass on that message. And I'm very grateful to Professor Abraham Koshy today. I don't think anybody can advise and speak better than him. Anybody can advise and speak better than Professor Pandit there. Anybody can speak better and enlighten more than Dr. Naveen Mathur, Professor Vidyadhar Reddy. They are the gurus, and they will tell us how we can market ourselves, how we can market our research, how we can market, management, academics, I think, to the world. These are once again welcome. Please give a big applause to our esteemed guests. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much for highlighting the importance of conference theme in the current scenario, sir. I now call upon Dr. V. Srikanth, convener of the National Conference on Modern Retailing, to give a brief about the conference.
Good morning, respected Chief Guest Professor Koshy Garu, Professor Ajay Pandit, Professor Naveen Mathur, Professor Vidyadhar Reddy, our beloved director, Professor R.K. Mishra, Professor Srinivas Murthy, my faculty colleagues, paper presenters, participants, and my dear students. It gives me great pleasure in introducing the theme of this National Conference on Modern Retailing, Social and Economic Perspectives. We got the idea of doing this particular conference on this theme because in the last 15 years we have been seeing how the retail industry has been growing. Particularly it got fillip in around 2004-05, and everybody expected that organized retailing in India will grow in a very big way. And that is also we thought it will be the next IT. In 2007, when we started this course on PGDM retail marketing, we thought that it is in the same stage as IT industry was there in 1990s, 91, 92. And it will grow like that. And that was what we have felt, and we have started this course 2 years PGDM in retail marketing. Of course, the journey in the last 12 years for the retail industry has not been as good as for the IT industry, but still it is providing the industry is growing, it is providing a lot of opportunities to the youngsters, and we have seen that it is also having a lot of social implications. IT industry had changed the face of the country. Many middle class people, I've seen my friends, they have somehow managed to do, because their financial conditions were not so good, to do the engineering. Somehow their parents, the father has enabled them to do the engineering, and they got the job in IT industry. They went to USA and other things for outsourcing jobs and all these kinds of things that changed the face of the country. Actually, many middle class people have moved from lower middle class to upper middle class and also to the rich category in the last 20 years. We thought retail industry also would grow like this particular thing. So that is the reason we have seen how IT industry has affected the society also. But we also need to see how the retail industry is going to affect the economy, what is the economic impact of that, and what is the social impact of this particular thing. So that was why we felt that there is a need to have this conference so that we can have people from industry and also from academia who are doing research on these particular aspects to come together and deliberate on these particular aspects. I am thankful to ICSSR, Indian Council for Social Science Research, for agreeing to sponsor this particular conference, and we have the 5 technical sessions in this particular conference. The first session, technical session, will be dealing with retail and its contribution to the Indian economy. And there is also a topic in this particular thing, that is a scenario and challenges of retail industry in India. What is the future aspect? That is also going to be dealt in this particular session. In the technical session 2, we will be discussing about the social and economic dimensions of the retail industry. Because many people have talked mostly about the economic dimensions of the retail industry only, but retail industry has a lot of social impact also. And that is the reason we are having this discussion in this particular session. Then we have a session, technical session 3 is about the leadership, culture, and human resources dimensions of retail management. And particularly I am talking about this culture and human resources dimension because many of the scholars, many of the industry people have been focusing on organized retailing only. But there is a culture of unorganized retailing also in this country. There is also a lot of human resources in this unorganized retail sector. And it is providing lot of opportunities, employment opportunities. Many livelihoods are dependent on this particular thing. And it is said that in USA, with the organized retail industry is growing, pop and mom stores, which we call in India as kirana stores, they have been eliminated, more or less eliminated in USA. Okay, but everybody expected the same kind of thing will happen in India also. Kirana shop people will be eliminated. But again, the experience in the last 10 years have shown that our culture is different, and how the same kind of thing has not happened in India. So this goes to show that unorganized retailing has its own strengths, and it is not going to go away in a hurry. It will be there. So that when we discuss about culture and human resources, there is also the need to look into this dimension of unorganized retail players also. We'll discuss this in the technical session 3. In the technical session 4, we'll be discussing about empowering neighborhood retailers through digital platforms. As we have been saying, IT is a big enabler, information technology is a big enabler in the retailing industry. It is a big enabler in other industries also, like banking, insurance and other areas also. But in retail industry also it is there. The focus has been on the enablement of organized sector only. But there is a big chunk of unorganized sector, so there is what we call as a need for digital inclusiveness of small retail players, kirana players. They can also be brought onto this digital platform, and thereby they will become even more competitive. Without this also they are giving a tough competition to the organized sector, but once they also become part of the digital platform, they are going to become even more bigger, tougher competitors for the organized sector. And we cannot wish them away. We may like organized sector, but we cannot wish the unorganized sector. So therefore, instead of keeping them away, let's include them. And we are going to discuss about this in this session. And then, in the technical session 5, we are going to have the topic on impact of GST, goods and services tax, and demonetization, which has happened recently. Okay, so this is the latest thing which is happening, and this is, as we say to our students, this is a macro environmental factor, both the things, GST and also the demonetization. It is affecting everyone. It is affecting both the organized players, it is affecting the unorganized players, it is affecting the big players, it is affecting the small players. Everyone is equally affected by this particular thing. And what is the impact of this thing, and what will be the future? That is what we are going to discuss in this particular session. Okay. I thank our director for giving me this opportunity to take up this particular conference. And once again, I thank all the distinguished guests who have, actually we contacted them only 10 days back, and they are all with such a short notice also, they have agreed to come here. I am very thankful to you, sir. And I also thank Indian Council for Social Science Research for agreeing to sponsor this conference. And I expect there will be good deliberations, lot of wisdom will be shared, and there will be, every one of us will be net gainers through this conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for explaining the relevance and the richness of conference theme, the deliberations on social and economics perspectives, and richness of the quality of the conference further. I request our chief guest of the day, Professor Abraham Koshi, to deliver the inaugural address.
Good morning, everybody. It's only customary for me to acknowledge this opportunity because it also has bonuses. Process, when he asked me to, requested me, there's no way I can say no. And the bonus is that I'm meeting Ajay Pandit, Professor Ajay Pandit, after so many years. Opportunity to meet such people. I'm meeting Professor Mathur, I think precisely after 10 years according to him. So that's another, and also Professor Vidyadhar Reddy, he was in IIM. I was a faculty, young faculty at that time, very young faculty, initially years of my life. But I don't think I have met him after that. So these are the bonuses in life, kind of joys in life which actually compensate everything else and provide the only rationale for you to come. It's not so much for sharing your knowledge, but it's more for cementing and rekindling relationship. These kinds of conferences benefit that. From a very sentimental reason, when Professor Vidyadhar Reddy from Osmani University was remembering, very initial stage of my career as an academician, young academician, there was one program for 1.5 months duration conducted then by Indian Council of Social Science Research in Usmani University campus on research methods. I was just entered my academic career. It was a great program, 1.5 months full of learning, huge learning. The kind of Professor Shekhar Gupta from Delhi, he was coordinating it, and he was such a taskmaster. He ensured that none of us went to bed before 2 o'clock in the night, every day. And continuously, the only time we get is the weekend, where I used to have a local friend called Chakrabani. He used to be my local guide. We used to go around Secunderabad and Hyderabad, exploring the city and exploring the wonderful cuisine. So therefore, there is always a sentimental reason for it. This is what is a benefit of coming back to this place. Okay, let me spend some time in terms of talking about or sharing my thoughts about the whole theme of retailing. What has been, if I look at what has been the significant changes or significant transformation in this industry in the last 15 years or so, one aspect was the ownership or the type of organization, from an informal sector, non-formal sector, to informal sector, to formal organized retailing. That kind of a transformation took place. Very interestingly, as Srikant mentioned, kind of expected at some point in time, and I wrote a case study of, at that time it was, Food World. Subsequently, they changed the name to Spencer's. Initial stage of Food World. Food World established a series of 9 stores at that time. Some of us studied that organization, wrote a series of 5 case studies published in IIM Ahmedabad, Food World A, B, C, D, all the entire up to E. We published the case studies when we looked at what triggered them to get into the, RPG, to get into the retailing, what were the factors, whole lot of insight from consumer research. Then we looked in terms of merchandising, supply chain management, whole issues relating to it. At that time when we used that case, I have even made statements in the class that, we are witnessing a sort of a revolution that is happening in the retail industry in India, exactly like what Professor Srikant mentioned. But that revolution was actually only a blip. It didn't get into a blast. So from a informal, unorganized, semi-organized retailing to a more movement towards a formal organized. Both these formats coexist. Size was another. From a smaller, a hole in a wall kind of a shop to a more larger kind of a shop. It was a movement which is actually, and then somewhere along the line this movement did not get traction, partly because of the real estate, that the return on investment was extremely challenging for anybody who got into the retailing. many times retailing is a, when we wrote the case, RPG's Food World Series case, in fact, that case was sponsored by us, RPG. It was one of those very rare case studies where where RPG contacted us and say that, look, we will fund it. Whatever be the expenditure, we will fund it. We want you to write cases. And that led to the good relationship with the RPG president that time. And I asked him the question after a few meetings, what was your interest in, sponsoring this case studies? His answer was very interesting. And I thought that interesting from a managerial perspective, interesting from a top manager's perspective. He said, we are not looking for a free consulting. We are not looking for any free advice. The reason why we wanted you people to write the case is that if you write the case and if you start using in IIM Ahmedabad, it certainly will be picked up by many other management schools. They will discuss these cases in their colleges. And students will learn that retailing is a serious business, because we are facing it difficult to attract talents to managerial cadre in the company. It's very interesting. How can a retailer be a serious businessman? Because retail always attracted jobless people. Nothing else to do, therefore you start a shop. Because he is good for nothing, he cannot do anything worthwhile, so start a shop. So it informally, that's why you got into informal sector. The only, according to a very senior DGP of retired, now he is retired, DGP of a state, he told me that retailing is not the one which attracts jobless, useless people. He said it is police. So I asked him why. He said when he was SP, Superintendent of Police of a particular district, there was a village Mukhya who, Mukhya came and met him. So he has to have good relation with the Mukhya. And Mukhya told him that, I have a son. He's an absolutely useless fellow. Whatever I did him, he messed it up. Finally, I put some money and made him start a retail shop. That also he messed it up. Now, can you somehow take him in the police? So therefore he says that, anybody who is not good for anything. Now, the reason why he looked at retailing need to attract talents. Retailing need to attract, a managerial, capably, endowed people. Therefore, size and format matters. This is one movement towards it. The second interesting thing is, if you look at the entire distribution chain, when the informal mom and pop kind of a shop used to dominate the scene, the distribution system used to be a single line linear distribution system from a company to the retailer. Why is it single line linear distribution system? You have the company supplying it to a major distributor, supplying into minor, dealers, dealer, distributor, wholesaler, finally retailer. So one chain, one line. So only difference is that, if you are a large company, you will have multiple, dealers depending on the geographical location. One person for Bombay or somebody for Delhi region and those kinds of things. But it was still traceable as a single line, distribution. Then the change in the format. You have the informal system, you have the more formal system, you have the large format retail outlets, service retail outlet. Then the whole distribution system became more complex. Not a single line, but multiple lines. Because you needed to have different type of intermediaries servicing these different type of retail outlets. So therefore, we either from a simple single line distribution system, it has changed into multi-channel distribution system. There is a major shift which happened. So managing a multi-channel distribution environment is far more challenging than managing a single channel distribution system. Therefore, industry became more complicated. But of big change that has happened the recent years, a big change, and this change is going to stay with us, is from a multi-channel distribution system, the world has moved towards omni-channel retailing system. It is actually conceptually different from multi-channel. It's called omni-channel retailing system. What does it mean? Whole lot of reasons which we'll talk about in a minute. You have multiple ways of connecting with the customer. Traditional brick and mortar, you have company websites, you have multi-brand shops in the net, you have mobile application, you have call centers, you have opinion makers influencing your choice, rating agencies, you have social media influence, you have a plethora of touch points for the consumers. And therefore, what happened is that there is as we'll see, there's a transformation in the way in which consumers buy. I'll elaborate this point in a minute. And therefore, what did it change? This omni-channel retailing, presence of omni-channel retailing, what did it actually change? The big change, conceptually, the big change, which has a big strategic impact, is that focus of companies shifts or need to shift from generating sales to managing consumer engagement. This is a big change. If you are looking at how do I generate 1 unit extra sale, you are going to actually get hit very badly, as opposed to how do I manage a consumer engagement. And what is this consumer engagement? Can I customize it as much as possible? Particularly relevant in the era of artificial intelligence, where consumers can be tracked, their behavior can be acknowledged, data can be interpreted, and they can actually customize their entire behavior. There is even a joke to say that, Google spouse. Have you heard what is a Google spouse? Google spouse is somebody, a spouse, who will probably, before you start speaking, outguesses what you are going to say and give you an answer. That is called Google spouse. Google, if you do any Googling of any word, before you actually complete the spelling, you already have 10 different suggestions which is happening. So it is outthinking you. In the advent of, artificial intelligence and algorithms that can actually convert that big data into a particular information, customize your experience. So therefore, how do I engage with a customer and make this entire experience a personal experience for the customer? That, I think, is a big strategic shift. So therefore, managing a shop, managing the inventory of a shop becomes far less important, because you are getting into a far greater complexity of a world where your inventory need not necessarily be confined to a physical shop. You need to have balanced inventory, and you need to have transparent information about the inventory to the customer in multiple points. And that, technically speaking, is a nightmare for a technocrat, but far easier given the artificial intelligence. So you can have programs which actually says that, look, the retail shop is the product available. And, for example, you just try, for example, you want to buy a crocodile, chapel. How many physical shops you have to go and, look around? Imagine how much will be your difficulty in parking your vehicle, going to the shop and realizing one shop will not have crocodile brand, another shop will have a crocodile brand, but it will be fitting probably a very small little feet, not your broad feet. So therefore you will have to spend half a day trying to find out where the shops are. Whereas if you go through the internet, and you can even locate where your size will be available in case you want to buy from a physical shop, or you can actually order. So in other words, transparency of the inventory in the system around you becomes an important thing, and therefore managing that entire transparent inventory system becomes a big thing. And the final change at a strategic level is this also forces companies customer management strategy. How do you move from a brand management system to a customer management system, given the fact that multiple touch points need to be managed, and therefore omni-retailing is the reality of the world today. If you look at how did these kinds of transformation, these are major transformation. In fact, if you look at the omni-retailing revolution which is happening many places, that is going to stay far more than the large format organized retailing that gave a false signal at some point in time. The reason why it is so are two or three important things. I pick up two or three things. One, technology is a big enabler. Because there are apps, because there are ways in which companies can seamlessly, less costlier ways of actually declaring their existence, sharing the advantage of their product, and persuading the consumers to explore more and engage, is far more easier now because of technology than a physical shop. How do you draw a customer inside a shop? In other words, at some point in time, footfall management used to be a big challenge. How do I get greater footfall in the shop? I can later convert that footfall into a billing if my people in the shop are very smart in converting the customer's search into a buy. Okay? And whereas here, you actually have a far greater enabler called technology, which actually can make your presence in the market, where market is the current and potential minds of the consumer. The real market is in the mind of the consumer, whether that's are already there or it is potentially there. So therefore you can make your presence felt in that. Technology is a big enabler. The second aspect is huge fading away of information asymmetry that used to exist. What is this information asymmetry? If you wanted to know how the product looked like, what material the product used to use, what are the technical details of the product, earlier you had to go and meet a salesperson, preferably somebody who is trained in that particular product, to tell you what the advantages are. Today you don't need that. You already have that information. And in other words, you can pull that information depending on what information you want. Take the case of a mobile phone. Any mobile phone, every single detail you will know, and many of the details you wouldn't even know what it represent, but nevertheless you know that all this very complicated this thing, 820, Snapdragon, this thing with so much of gigabytes, so speed and those kinds of things. Looks important. So you compare something. Oh, it has a 6 GB RAM. This has only 4 GB RAM. What the hell are you going to do with that 2 extra GB is not for you to worry about. But, the important aspect is that, you get that information. In other words, transparency of information available to the consumer is transforming consumers' search behavior. How do consumers search? How do consumers form opinions, arrive at decisions? That entire process has changed. And third, because of economic changes that has happened in the country, and also whole lot of media, consumer familiarity with categories have also improved. So therefore, consumer become familiar with a category. Consumer actually start looking for a certain contours which they never used to know to look for when they were unfamiliar. For example, if you look at a mobile phone, the hands of all the youngsters, they would, I don't think anybody has to tell them what is the difference between iOS and Android, and what is Android 7.0, the latest one, and what is what was it, vegetable name? Android marshmallow and Android, all those kinds of, funny names. You know all those kinds of things. And familiarity of people with the category have changed so much so, even luxury product, or many semi-luxury product, people actually start using sources which they never used to use. For example, buying a perfume, a high-end perfume, a bottle of 100 ml perfume will cost you something like 7,500 rupees. 100 ml perfume, if you buy certain things online, Prada, for example, if you want to buy 100 ml will cost you, 7,500. And the consumers who are familiar will start searching. For example, I wanted to search, find out what are the different perfume and cost, and doing, and then somebody made a comment, is this the original one? So the other person said, I bought it as expected. It is the first derivative. Then I searched what is first derivative. It is actually not the original one. They dilute it with some of this thing. And so one bottle of original perfume which cost originally maybe 7,500 will become probably 2 or 3 which cost 7,500. So therefore, in fact, some youngster was saying that never buy perfume through the online. You have to buy perfume abroad in perfumery, because that is the original stuff. All those kinds of things. Anyway, I have not done any purchase to specifically understand the veracity of this. So therefore, consumer familiarity, what they search for, what data they are looking for before they arrive at certain conclusions and action plan, that enabler change how consumers behave. And the third important thing is consumers' own value orientations. Yesterday, the youngster who accompanied me was telling him that if you look at our parental generation, when we buy something, one generation, two generation. Today, if you look at the youngsters work in IT sector or those kinds of firms, do they want to buy a furniture which will last for 20 years? No. They would rather rent a furniture for 1 year. So therefore, the engagement, type of engagement with the consumer, of the consumer with products, are also changing. So therefore, that transforms the way in which consumers behave. And what does it actually mean? One, two aspects. Let me take two aspects and conclude before, without further, cutting into the time. Number one, need to acknowledge the role of each of the touch points vary depending on the consumer. It's actually highly variable. You cannot have a fixed role for that, depending on the consumer. Some consumers go to a retail shop essentially to find out what things are available. Some consumers go to a retail shop after making the mind to buy. So therefore, purchase spot for some consumers, a physical touch and feel for some other consumers, source of certain kinds of information for some other consumer. For example, I want to assess how good the after-sales service would be. So I go to a physical shop and see and talk to somebody, what is your after-sales. So therefore, for the same type of a touch point, the roles that is played vary depending on the type of consumer. And it's very difficult for us to predict whether he is going to behave like that, he is going to behave like that. And therefore, you need to start bundling things. Okay? And because of that, what is a fundamental change there? Earlier, retailing always used to be what in Gujarati they call taka business. Whether 1.5%, 2%, 3%, 3.5%, 5%, it is always a taka business, percentage business. How much you sell, you get that much. Today, that taka has no meaning because it is activity-based reward. So therefore, companies also need to think differently. Earlier, I used to say that, okay, what is the distribution cost? My distribution cost is all put together, distributor, dealers, everybody put together. It used to come to about 12.5%. How much the retailer used to get? And retailer, there's one company, one FMCG company, at some point in time, even boasted to me, oh, we give them such a low, percentage that most of my distributors make their money by selling the carton. I was a little uncomfortable with that statement. If that is the way in which you are taking care of the economics of your business partner, then that business partner is not going to stick to you or give you the best of services any which way. Now that whole concept of taka has changed to compensating for activities. Some of these activities need to be measured. Getting into a major problem. How do you measure these activities? How do you measure what is the quality of service of, you can say that if I measure the number of customers whom you service, I can do that. But what has been the quality of service? In fact, one company came for some, sort of servicing of, and the fellow was extremely, extremely good. It was a company representative service person. He came and it was an electrical equipment. So he put on a sort of above his shoes, he put on a, sort of a cover, and he used gloves, safety equipment. So he did it very professionally. And then when you sort of settle the bill, he gave a rating card. He said, sir, please rate honestly how you were happy with me. Okay. Obviously, I rated him extremely high because his behavior was good, his conduct was. You can measure those things, but how reliable those things are, that is where artificial intelligence again come to play. So you can see a pattern in that. So therefore, role, compensation of the members of the channel, and finally, what is a concept of buying? In this context, I'll end with this statement. Context of buying or concept of buying is not possession of an object by the consumer. It is an entire journey of experience that customer goes through. Earlier, we used to actually manage the point of contact or point of truth where consumer exchange money for goods and service. That used to be. That has changed. Now it is the entire experience, journey of experience of consumer, from thinking about participating in a product to finally ending up buy. And companies need to manage this entire chain of experience. That is where omni-retailing becomes all the more important. Mr. Saab said, what does it lead to? Simple. Whole new genre of research questions. How much do we know about these things? I think, honestly, very honestly, we don't know anything about it. We have not even started scratching the surface. That is where, start with consumer behavior. Please understand that in today's world, it is not stated attitude which is important. It is demonstrated behavior which is important. I cannot ask somebody that, do you like this product? Yeah. How much do you like it? Lot. Then you come out, many people like this product. That may or may not be right. But finally, what is reliable for me, did he end up buying or not? How much did he buy? That becomes a more reliable data. In other words, we are moving from simple behavioral only data, attitude only data, to actual big data, analytics, artificial intelligence. The world is changing, and researchers need to be prepared for that particular world. Thank you very much, and I wish everybody happy.
I'm sure everyone in this room are spellbound after listening to Professor. May I request each one in this room to loudly applaud for Professor Koshi.